So, you have watched a lot of Unreal Engine tutorials on YouTube, and every single one of them is encouraging you to use blueprint interfaces. And you may be wondering, what is a blueprint interface and how do I use this in my game? Or you already know how to use a blueprint interface, but every time you try to use it, the message node never shows up. Hello folks, welcome to the channel again. In this video today, I'm going to break it down all for you. We're going to talk about what blueprint interfaces are and why they're such a powerful tool that every beginner in Unreal Engine should be utilizing it and getting familiarized with it immediately. I'll also show you a practical example that proves why interfaces are way better than casting, especially when it comes to performance and scalability. So stick around and let's level up your Unreal Engine skills. If you like this type of content, hit the like button, and also you can support the channel by subscribing to it. Now, let's get into the video. In Unreal Engine, communication between blueprints is traditionally conducted using the cast node. This is probably one of the first methods that you will learn when you start with Unreal Engine blueprint system. Essentially, casting allows one blueprint to access the functions and variables of another by confirming the object types at runtime. For example, you might want to cast from your player character to an enemy blueprint to update its health or trigger an animation or apply some sort of an effect. While this works, it comes with some serious drawbacks, especially as your project grows. Casting creates tight dependencies between the blueprints, which makes your system less modular and harder to maintain. And every time you use a cast node, Unreal Engine performs a type check at runtime, which can lead to performance issues if you're casting frequently, especially in games with a lot of actors or complex interactions. So if casting is traditional but not ideal, what's the alternative? Enter blueprint interfaces. So blueprint interfaces are a game changer. Think of them as a universal language translator. You have multiple different blueprints who speaks completely different languages or completely different concepts and logics. The interface does not really care about what the object type of the blueprint is and what the blueprint does. All it does is it asks for a specific command, and if the blueprint can do it, it will go ahead and trigger the function. If the blueprint cannot do it, then it will just keep moving on to the next, to the next. Unlike casting, which creates direct dependencies between blueprints, blueprint interface lets you build a modular and a reusable system. Let me give you an example here. I have three objects in the map in front of us. The rocket has a simple code that says rocket fly, and it just moves the rocket up. The door has a simple function that says open door, and it just moves the door up. And the apple has a simple function named pick up apple, and when it happens, it just destroys the actor from the world. In my third person character, when I press the keyboard key E, it's going to create a sphere trace by channel, and it's going to give me the hit result. In a traditional method where you would be casting, you would take this hit actor and you would cast to that specific actor, whether it be the rocket, the door, or the apple. For instance, if I want to speak with the apple and tell the apple to go ahead and fire this pickup apple, I would need to cast directly to the apple, and as the apple BP, I would go ahead and call out the pickup apple function. Now, Unreal Engine is going to go ahead and take a look at what is the BP apple, and it's going to get a direct reference to this BP apple, and it's going to call out this function for pickup apple. Now, what if I want to cast to the door? I would delete this apple, and then now I need to go ahead and go for a cast to BP door, use the hit actor as the object reference here, and ask the door, I would need to go ahead and open the door. Same thing would apply for the rocket. If I want to run all three of them, I would simply use a sequence node and connect this sequence node here. I would do three different casts for each and every single item that I have in the map. I would connect the hit actor as the object reference for all these three casts and call out the specific function from each and every single blueprint, such as open door for the door blueprint, rocket fly for the rocket, pick up apple for the apple. Now, as you can immediately see, this hurts performance and also it hurts our scalability. Right now, we're loading up three different blueprints at runtime while the game is playing to get the details of these individual blueprints and the information that's inside of it. And we're calling out specific functions that's within these blueprints. This is going to be very resource heavy. Imagine you have a very fleshed out game and how many cast nodes you will have in your game if you're going to be going with the traditional methods. If for every single cast, Unreal Engine needs to go ahead and take a look at each and every single object types of the blueprint and create direct dependencies, which will definitely impact the performance of your overall game. Now let me show you the interface method. In our content drawer, we can right click and create a blueprint interface. We could call this BPI for blueprint interface underscore my game. You can have one blueprint interface for your entire game, or you could have multiple blueprint interface controlling different aspects of your game. Either way works. Open up your interface and you can create a simple function. Now, the common thing that we're trying to do between these three blueprints are to interact with it. So in my blueprint interface, I created the function for interact. Now compile and save. That's all you have to do in here. Now in my third person character, I will go ahead and delete all of this casting node. I'll drag off of the hit actor and I will call that interact node, which will give me a type of message with this little envelope on the top corner. Now, once I connect this, this is all I have to do from my player character. Now, the interface is going to shoot out a message throughout our entire game to any blueprints that has the interface implemented, and it's going to call out this interact function. To implement it, in my Rocket blueprint, I'll go to my class settings, implemented interfaces, and I'll search for BPI, my game. And now on the left side panel, you would notice that there's a new drop down for interfaces with the interact in it. You can right click and implement this event. And when you implement this event, all you have to do is drag off of this event and then call for rocket fly. Now, when the player interacts with the rocket, the interface is going to send out an interact message. Because our rocket does have the interface implemented, it's going to fire this function, which is going to call for rocket fly. Same thing for our door. We're going to go to our class settings, go ahead and add our new interface that we just created, BPI game. Right click on this interact interface and then go ahead and implement it. And off of this, we're going to go ahead and call for that open door function. Compile. Same thing for our Apple. And this is all you have to do, an interface call. And if I press E, you'll notice how the rocket is still functional and it does exactly what it's supposed to. And if I press E on the apple gets picked up. That's exactly what we have set up. And this is how you can simplify your entire project without having to cast and use interfaces. All of my tutorial in my channel I have created without using a single casting. All of my tutorials, including Diablo 4 ability tray and the Call of Duty style loadout system and all dungeon mechanics tutorial series that I have done, has been utilizing the interfaces and not been doing any type of casting. And this is very important because this interactable function is now expandable, and any new blueprints that you create, all you have to do is add the interface into the blueprint and call in this event interact, and then you can connect to your interact function within that blueprint and everything will work just fine and efficiently. One key thing that you need to have in mind for interfaces is that you need to provide a valid target for the interface to function. If you're going to be communicating with your player, you need to make sure that you're getting a reference to your player character and set that up as your target. This will communicate to your player character. Another one that you can use is get all actors with interface. Through this interface, you can communicate with all the actors who have the BPI My Game interface implemented or any other interfaces that you have actually selected here. From the out actors, although it's an array, you can simply connect this to the target and this would work perfectly fine. You don't need to convert this array at all. In some event, if you call in the node for get all actors with interface, and then if you drag off of this and call for the interact, sometimes you won't see that interact message. And I have gone through this all the time. Not really sure what happens here. However, there is a workaround. All you have to do is just go for get player character. It doesn't matter who you want to communicate with. This is only for temporary reasons. Off of the return value, call the interact message, then delete your player character and connect the out actors directly into the interface function. This works exactly the same, and I have used it again and again in all of my tutorials, and it works perfectly fine. If you would like to communicate with your animation blueprint, get a reference to your mesh component, get your anim instance. This anim instance will become your target. So any type of interact functions that is in your animation blueprint, you will be able to communicate with that animation blueprint through this blueprint interface. Another interface target that you could use is get actor of class. This is specifically for individual blueprint class that you want to communicate with. This will restrict it specific to a class that has been selected here. You can also use interface when communicating with widgets. There is a node named get all widgets with interface, and select your interface here. In my experience, although get all widgets of class is able to connect to the interact target, it's a little finicky. It doesn't really fire all the times. So if you want to communicate with your widget using interface, I recommend you using get all widgets with interface and plug that into your target and not use this get all widgets of class. And the last one that we're looking at is components. If you use actor components in your game, you could use get components by interface and select your interface, and that would work with your interface function as well. Now remember, you have to implement these interfaces in the actor or the component or the widget class that you're trying to communicate with, or else none of the events will be able to trigger when the interface function is called. So folks, I really hope that this quick guide on blueprint interfaces helps you out a lot, because using blueprint interface in Unreal Engine is an absolute game changer, and there should be no reason as to why you should not be using interfaces for all of your communication from start to finish. There are times when casting is necessary, but those times are very rare. As a beginner game developer to intermediate game developers, you should be looking at using interfaces to efficiently communicate between your blueprints instead of hurting your performances using the traditional casting method. Alright folks, I hope you learned something new in this guide for blueprint interfaces. If you have any questions regarding the interfaces, let me know in the comment section below. And if this video had helped you and provided any type of information that you were looking for, you can support this channel by clicking that like button and subscribe. It's free to do it, and I post great content for indie developers just like you. So once again folks, thank you very much for stopping by, and I'll catch you on the next video.